Now we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty of what Indians are all about.
I still say we Indian people are believers in the truth. This is the way of life that was given to your people. You're born an Indian, you're going to die an Indian. Indianness is a good life. You're facing an Indian this afternoon.
Good Saturday afternoon out there, everyone. Welcome to your number one source for Native American television news. It's Mvskoke Vision, and I am Jason Salzman here in the Mvskoke Media Studios as we are ready for this week's episode. Lots to get to, so we're going to get started right off the bat. Some big news. I know everybody's paid attention, even our coverage as well, of the teacher lack of education funding, teacher work stoppage going on in Oklahoma, storming the Capitol, what have you, all of it. Package put forward to create some revenue, everything like that comes out, and attached in that, a ball and dice game legislation went before the House there and has now been signed into law. So now, at Mvskoke Creek Nation casinos, all Oklahoma tribal casinos, ball and dice games, traditional roulette, craps, going to be played. And because of that, I sat down with CEO of Mvskoke Creek Nation Casinos, Mr. Pat Crofts at River Spirit Casino, to get his thoughts on this new law.
Yeah, the ball and dice legislation is very, very positive. It's one of those situations, it's really a win-win-win. I mean, it's number one, it's a win for our customers and the customer experience. Number two, it's a win for the state and for education. And number three, it's a win for the Mvskoke Creek Nation because it will bring increased business. You know, the guests are going to enjoy it more. We have people from all over the country that stay here. They come in, they want to play craps, and it's like, where's the dice? They want to play roulette, you know, where's the wheel and the ball? And overall, it's going to generate additional business. This is the traditional crap player and somewhat the roulette player. I mean, if you're a true crap player, you know, you want to have the dice in your hand, you want to have the feel, you want to, you know, catch a hot player that's got a hot dice, they call it, and, you know, really start betting. I mean, it's a totally different experience. I mean, it's kind of interesting. Everybody talks about these are new games. They're not really new games. We already have roulette tables. We already have crap tables, but the outcome has to be by the current compact. The outcome is determined by a deck of cards, and you know, people come and play, and it's just foreign to them, you know, not to have the dice, not to have the ball dropping on a spinning wheel, and it's a different experience. They play it, but they don't stay around and play. We've built a beautiful resort here. I've personally brought people in that I know, come and give us a try. And the ones that are craps players say it's a beautiful place, I enjoyed it, but I'm still going to keep going to Las Vegas because I'm a craps player. And so it'll make a big difference, it really will. My understanding is that there's a waiting period after the legislative session is over, and then we also have to make an amendment to our compact with the state, and that has to go to Washington, D.C. to be approved by, you know, the Department of Interior, and because it's a change in gaming laws, the NIGC. So our attorneys are telling us it'll probably be fall before we can implement it. Unfortunately, I wish we could do it tomorrow, but we have to go through the approval process. Our involvement has really been more behind the scenes. Jerry McPeak, our tax commissioner, who is a former, you know, legislator in the state, we did go to Oklahoma City. We talked to people in the governor's office and people in the legislative down there, but it was all behind the scenes. But we told them the same thing. You know, we need to do this. You know, since gaming and the compacts were approved in Oklahoma, 14, 15 years ago, the industry has grown. I mean, look, we're in a beautiful facility. We've grown from small, casino, slot operations to full service luxury resorts. So the industry has grown, but unfortunately the gaming laws didn't grow along with it. So we think this is a really good first step in enhancing the guest experience and giving them the experience they can have in other jurisdictions.
I want to thank Mr. Pat Crofts for visiting with me there a little bit. And as he said, you could see those traditional roulette and dice games coming out in our casinos probably around the fall is what he's being told. So look for that then, bringing in a new kind of player to the facilities, and I know that they're very excited about that. We'll keep it at River Spirit Resort Casino right now for the 16th annual continuing legal education seminar put on by the Mvskoke Creek Nation's District Court.
This is the, I think, 16th year or 17th year of our doing business in Indian Country, our continuing legal education for the Mvskoke Creek District Court, where we give all the continuing education credits that a lawyer would need to comply with Oklahoma Bar. It gives us a chance to discuss and educate about things that someone might need to know to practice within the tribal courts and or represent Indians within the Mvskoke Nation area.
I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be here as chairman of the NIGC, but I'm also excited to be here because I'm Mvskoke Creek. This conference has been a leading conference in business in Indian Country for many years, and so both in my official capacity but on a very personal level, I'm honored and excited to be here. It's important to have practitioners who understand the law. At our agency, we're about sound regulation without inhibiting the entrepreneurial spirit of tribes. So we're credible, sound regulators, but we want to help facilitate as streamlined of an environment for economic development as possible. So we absolutely do our best to balance the public interest without getting in our own way or without getting in the way of the industry. So having so many practitioners who understand the law is important. But part of understanding the law is understanding the historical context of the law, and having so many practitioners who can collectively engage in that public education dialogue to talk about tribes' roles as governments and the roles of Native people vis-a-vis a government-to-government relationship. That's very important on a public policy level and a public education level. So very excited to see the knowledge of everybody in here, but also to see so many folks with an understanding of the government-to-government relationship between tribes and the federal government and state governments.
We try to do it in two phases. One day we have usually what might be called practical tribal court experience and things, the current updates in federal Indian law. It's also important for someone who practices within Indians or tribal courts, but in particular, whether it's a tribal court defense work or prosecution, but also even just working with the tribes in a business situation, that you become familiar with the history and historical perspective of the tribe itself. Because while that is not something which takes a need for knowledge in every instance, it may only be on occasion, but it certainly shades the way that we look at certain actions or perspectives or things that we want to accomplish. And that just as we wouldn't think to practice in federal court without knowing about the Declaration of Independence and the Revolutionary War, you can't practice very efficiently without understanding the background of the tribal people themselves.
Visited Cherokee Country recently as the Northeastern State University campus was host once again to the Symposium on the American Indians. For several years they have had the Symposium on the American Indian there at NSU, and once again hosting it. We were actually a part of it this year. Mvskoke Media, Sterling Cosper, myself, and Gary Fife did a panel on independent media in tribes, and so we were glad to be there, and we hope you enjoy this short feature on the Symposium on the American Indian.
We are here at the 46th Annual Symposium on the American Indian in Tahlequah, Oklahoma, on the campus of Northeastern State University. We've been here all week hosting a series of events. Those events include a film series and then keynote speakers, concurrent sessions. We are today featuring the Dream Warriors Management Group, so they're going to have a panel discussion today over lunch with ACES, and then this evening there'll be a live performance, and then all of our events conclude with the NSU Powwow tomorrow. We are in our 46th year of this event. It happens every year about the same time in April. NSU enrolls and graduates more Native students than any other public university in the country, so it's important for us to be this staple in the community, to provide this space. All of our events are free and open to the public, so we want both the NSU community as well as the greater Tahlequah community and even beyond to be able to come and hear these keynote speakers, hear these concurrent sessions, participate in these workshops, so that we can continue to build and support our Native community in the area.
You know, folks out there, a lot of people tell us one of their favorite segments that we do on the show, and it's not weekly, but it is a recurring theme when we get a chance to talk to our elders, is elder conversations. And really, you know, we started doing this because so many people out there just love to sit and talk with the elders. You know, just let them go, let them talk about their experiences, their life, where they've gone. This next one is from Jess Freeman, a Korean War veteran that talked to us about his life and his service.
I'm from Aram, about 14 miles east of Mvskoke. From Aram, we moved to Tulsa, and I went to school there at Tulsa Central. I graduated there, and from there I went into the military. I had been in the National Guard for 2 years before I went into the Army, and I was only 16 when I went in the Army. Had to loxy a little bit, but everybody did back then. Me and my cousin Jimmy Alexander, Jimmy wasn't no taller than the gun. So yeah, we went in pretty young. While I was in Korea, I was in the 7th Cavalry, and we patrolled the DMZ and Nightmare and Bowling Alley Range. From the Army, I went overseas to Korea. It was a long ship ride. There's about 800 of us, and we crossed over. It took about 18 days getting there, and I was sure glad to get back on land. We were up in the mountains, and it would get terribly cold, and you eat a lot of sea ration, and you didn't really take your sea rations and put them under your arms before you went to bed, where everything would freeze overnight, and even you, if you didn't watch it. It was quite an experience, I'm guaranteeing you. And so after we went through a year of that, well, they sent us home. We've worked in Sunday school teaching for the past 20, 25 years, I guess. We came down to help work in the Indian churches, and we had several occasions to work in different churches, and now we're working in a church in the city. Every Christmas, the family gets together, and I tell them the Christmas about Jesus' birth, they all remember that. And they're all grown now, and the grandkids are going through it now. I tell them the same story I told our kids, and they still enjoy it. Matter of fact, they kind of look forward to it. When I was in Indian school at Uchee, growing up, the matron would have us repeat the Lord's Prayer every night after we got through with our work detail. And we would shine our floors. We had old army blankets, and we'd shine the floors. Or some days we'd be out in the field working, picking turnips. Or we had our time with working in the field, and we all had duties to do. And we refer back to them sometimes, me and my brothers. And we all just have a big laugh. We'd eat there and sleep there. And, well, we'd make her get up early in the morning, make our beds, and then we'd go to the chow hall. I'm thankful for the Lord has carried me through all of this, you know. It hadn't been easy. Anybody that's been to an Indian school knows it wasn't easy, because there's always kids ready to fight on the school ground, and that's where I got most of my training. and I've seen a lot of the kids that have went there, and a lot of them have died. We only got we have a Uchee reunion, and there's only about 15 of us about to show up out of all them kids. Most of them have died out. But that was a time that everybody remembers. If you go to Indian school, you'll remember all those times.
Okay, to close out the show this week, we're going to take you to the vault and some of our archive material. As I said with Elder Conversations, some of the things that we put out in a recurring manner, a lot of people really like, and they love seeing the archive material. You know, you see young people that were young then in this footage that are now a little bit older, such as our current Principal Chief, James Floyd. He's a younger man in this video, back when he was the manager of Creek Nation Health Services. So this is from the vault, early 80s, Make My People Live, in conjunction with Nova TV.
In rural Oklahoma, there's a story of hope to be told in Indian health. The Creek Nation, under the leadership of Claude Cox, has taken control of its own healthcare system. Chief Cox has led the Creeks for 13 years, and today he's running for his 4th term. The progress here has been extraordinary. While other tribes struggle, the Creeks are succeeding because of stable leadership, political savvy, and some well-placed friends in Congress.
You get up here and vote, man. Okay.
We really didn't have any facilities, and it was just a empty hole in the wall on Main Street, you might say. And we all thought that Our people deserved a better health care program than this. We set some goals, and we've accomplished a lot of those goals. That's something that we're real proud of.
Cox recognized early on that health is related to standards of living. Among the programs he set up, a tribal housing project, new home starts and repairs for the homes of Creek citizens, a dairy farm with 200 cows supplying milk to the area and providing jobs for 30 Creek people, a surplus food program which supplies 70 pounds of food a month to needy families in the tribe. The Creeks were the first tribe to arrange such a program for their people. And in the field of health, the Creeks have been the first tribe in the nation to contract with the federal government to run their own health facilities, a hospital and 4 clinics. This concept is called Indian self-determination.
We've been the first tribe in the United States to operate its own hospital, and the first tribe also to contract for more than one health facility. This has given us control of our own destiny as far as health care is concerned.
The 1975 Indian Self-Determination Act encouraged tribes to take responsibility for providing their own health care with government financial support.
The Creeks responded to the challenge of self-determination by taking over a county hospital and operating it effectively through good tribal leadership, through dealing with sound professional management, good financial management, and as a result have provided a real service both to their own people and to the other people in that community.
Sophisticated diagnostic tests such as ultrasound are readily available to patients at the hospital. And if a treatment can't be provided here, the patients are driven to Tulsa, an hour away. The Creeks healthcare program has become a model for other tribes in the nation to follow.
I think that the Creek Nation has taken the Indian Self-Determination Act further than anyone had at first imagined. We have, through our contracting process, gone down roads that haven't been traveled before. There was some concern by the Indian Health Service that we could not provide the level of care that they had provided. However, we've shown that to be otherwise. The patient load has dramatically increased, and we've been able to expand services. There's a strong community spirit among the people that use the health facilities, and that creates a very strong bond between the people that deliver the health care and the people that receive it.
As with other tribes, home health care is essential in that delivery system. Ethel White is a community health representative who visits homebound patients like Gertie Treadwell, who lives here. Mrs. Treadwell has a severe diabetic condition and can hardly walk.
There's a lot of people that wouldn't go see a doctor or get some kind of help unless I go see about it. Gertie, you home? Gertie has been remodeling her home. Yeah. So that's going to help her some. Put the water in, and the electricity is going to be handy for her, you know, bathing. Before she was hauling water where she couldn't really afford to be keeping her sores clean.
How's your feet? It's getting better, and I can walk on it.
Circulatory complications of diabetes have caused infections in sores in Mrs. Treadwell's feet, and she has had to have all her toes amputated.
Is that sore?
That one in the middle, that's where it hurt. Somewhere.
So I hope I have helped her in some ways by being there and talking to her about health problems, that I helped her some. You're gonna go back Monday? I'll be right here between 7 and 7:30.
An important function these representatives perform is to provide transportation for people who could not otherwise get to the doctor. Often because of poor diet and nutrition, diabetes strikes Indian people 3 times as often as other Americans.
Well, I'm very proud to be a Creek Indian and live here among Creek people. I'm here with my family, and it affords me the opportunity to have strong family ties. And I see that with all Indian families in this area, that they help each other out. At times, they may not have much money, but they're still willing to give all they have to help someone else. And these things, along with the tradition, the religion, it just all comes together and has a strong sense of community.
Religious dances held at stomp grounds like this one have played a major role in keeping the Creek tribe together.
We have the feeling, and the feeling that we have is what we put out.
Everybody, come on in, come on in. Everybody.
And each follower that comes behind the leader will always know what he is saying. And it's been a gift to us. And that's the feeling that we have. And no doubt about it, we are talking to our Maker.
The stomp dance will last all weekend during the summer months, and people dance until dawn. In many ways, it's a dance of renewal.
Stomp dance, it's been carried on many years. Even the closest relatives that we have, they come together and we fellowship and carry on this kind of life and the way we believe in, and I think it's really important to us.
In some respects, the health of Indian people has improved in the last 30 years. But there's still a long way to go before they reach parity with the general public. The Indian Health Care Improvement Act, signed into law in 1976, was intended to close that gap and to bring the health of Indian people up to that of the general population. But the goal was never reached, and that act expires this year. Congress is now considering it for renewal.
We're beginning to flesh out in some detail the federal government's side of the commitment. But I have to go back to the words of Red Cloud, who said, "The white man has made many promises. He kept but one. He promised to take our land, and he took it."
Hey, that's going to do it for our program this week. We want to thank everybody out there for joining us here on CW 1219. Remind everybody out there to visit us on our website at MvskokeMedia.com. Also visit us on our social media sites and click that red button and subscribe on YouTube to our online channel. You'll get everything right there on your tablets, your phones, your laptops, anywhere and on demand. Mvskoke Media, Mvskoke Vision on YouTube. You guys have a great week. I'm Jason Salzman for Jared Moore. We'll see you all next time.